Guys, hear me out. Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door is definitely one of the greatest, if not the greatest Paper Mario game of all time. Seriously, this one just had an incredible theme, an outstanding cast of characters, a variety of things to do, which are all enough to make a gamer fall in love with it. So again, with all the Paper Mario Origami King stuff just around the corner, it being released in a month from now, I feel like it's the right time to do a little tribute to one of my favorite games of all time. So after replaying the game for a week, I am finally here ranking every chapter in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door from worst to best. Now, before I begin, I just want to say that my friend Brian, aka The Boopinion, will be joining here today to do like half of the chapters. With all of that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so starting off this list is Chapter 2, Boggly Woods. Unfortunately, this has to be here. It honestly wasn't bad of a world. None of them actually are, in my opinion. I just felt like Chapter 2 was the weakest of the Link because, I don't know, it was just so annoying. Gathering all the Punies was essential. Yes, a fantastic idea, but I feel like it was executed poorly. Like, I'm not any type of game designer whatsoever, but I think Nintendo should have designed this in such a better way. Would have been more enjoyable for the gamer. Like, I think the biggest problem was probably how the tree was laid out. Everything looked very similar, making it confusing. It doesn't help that the Punies don't want to freaking get to the other side sometimes, and they actually stop following you randomly or get scared too easily from those spiders or whatsoever. And the music inside was super infuriating. Like, I prefer the Boggly Woods like theme or like the tree theme instead of just the puny music, so I think that also agitated me. So overall, Chapter 2 is a world I don't necessarily look forward to when I replay the game, but I will say the forest does look super magical and beautiful. Not dead last is Petalburg, and not to be confused with Petalburg City from Pokemon's Hoenn region. Like I mentioned in my last Paper Mario ranking video, Petalburg suffers again from first chapter syndrome. It's a nice place introducing the game's main mechanic, but the enemies are so freaking easy to beat, and the overall, chapter is pretty short. I do agree though that the atmosphere feels very Mario-y, and I like that, and it has a classic theme to it, like the Slay the Dragon tale, like a boy trying to prove his strength to the village, which is Koops and Koopy-Koo saying like, yo, I'm gonna make you my bitch girl, so I'm just gonna slay the dragon for you. And I like how the castle environments have these cool puzzles, but again, it was super easy to understand, and yeah, the challenge breaks it for me. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's really nice of an area, but a lot of the other chapters were just so well made that this one has to be at number 7. Also, I still have one question. How the heck is Koops' dad still alive in Hooktail's belly? Like, what?
Following Chapter 1 is Chapter 7, the Exant Fortress. Probably a surprising pick for a lot of you, but hear me out. If it was just focused on the Exant Fortress and there was a lot more to the fortress, then I think this would be much higher up, but just getting to the Exant Fortress was one of the most frustrating things in the game. Finding General White was incredibly boring and tedious, and as a kid, I basically had no idea what to do, and it just took me a long time to figure out what to do. And when I later played it as I was older, I still didn't enjoy it. I think they could have had something else, like a trial of some sorts that you could then go through and obtain a key piece for the cannon. Just something like that would have been better. And Far Outpost, there wasn't much to it. I get that that's part of the theme, and it's kind of like mimicking Siberia or something, but I just didn't think that was a good theme. It could have been more exciting, especially after following Chapter 5 and Chapter 6, which had very exciting themes. Also, I just don't think Nintendo really knows what to do when they have a moon. As you can see in Super Mario Odyssey and in this game, moving on the moon is very boring, and it just takes a long time to get across it. I found myself avoiding a lot of the enemies at a certain point, and it just took a long time to get to the Exant Fortress. I think if they were to redo this game, they would probably remove Far Outpost and add more to the moon, and it would be a much better chapter. Chapter 4, Twilight Town, is kind of a mixed bag of a chapter. In some ways, it suffers from the same critiques that I had of Chapter 7, but it does have some things that Chapter 7 doesn't have, such as better characters involved, and I just thought the gameplay was more enjoyable throughout the entire chapter. It can be frustrating the first time you play it, as you may not know what to do with the name game with Dupless, and then having to go back and forth between the castle and the town is probably the least appealing part of the chapter. The first time you see the Amazing Daisies in the forest, they aren't the worst enemy to face in the game, but their sleep ability is probably the most annoying thing you're going to have to face, as you have to sit through turn after turn of being asleep, and you just want to get to a certain point where you just want to run away instead of facing them. The chapter has some really good aspects, such as adding Vivian to the team, which is probably the most used partner that I play as in the game, and I thought her story was just one of the most interesting stories as a partner. This chapter also provides you two of the best items in the game, the Lucky Start Badge, which you get from beating the Big Boos after you make them all come together, and the Crystal Star you gain from this chapter is one of the most versatile stars in the game. So I would say it's a little bit of a letdown as a chapter after how amazing Chapter 3 was, but it's still a solid chapter overall. Chapter 5, Key might be the most balanced chapter in the game. It's got a great adventure theme, which I really enjoyed, going from the ship to exploring the island, and then finally descending into the caverns. Bobbery, who you meet and goes on your journey for this chapter, has one of the best backstories in the game. It's very heartbreaking, and you really bond with them. I guess probably the reason why this chapter isn't higher on the list is that it just doesn't seem as memorable as the other chapters. Don't get me wrong, it does a lot of things right, like having Bobbery, as I mentioned before, with this backstory. Cortez, the main boss fight in this chapter, is very exciting, and it's not one you should take lightly, as some of his poison attacks can really do some damage on you. As I said before, solid chapter, it does everything right, the music is great, the theme with the adventure, the ship, the island, traveling, going into the dungeon. I guess probably the best aspect of this chapter is the cavern aspect. So I just wanted it to be larger than it was. I feel like it didn't take that long to get through it, and I just would have loved like a huge cavern dungeon, kind of like the Palace of Shadows later on in the game. But yeah, as I said before, solid chapter, does everything right, just wasn't as memorable, didn't stand out as much as the following chapters after this.
Coming in at the bronze medal, we have Poshly Heights. Now, this chapter was super enticing because Mario and friends get to solve series of crimes here, like things like theft, threatening messages, spooky mysteries, plot twists. They were all interesting, and it kept me feeling like, whoa, what's going to happen? And while I'm a fan of puzzles and investigation, I will say there is just one part that fell short to me, which was Riverside Station. Riverside was kind of a drag, like I felt like there was too many enemies, and exploring the area just wasn't as fun. I also didn't look forward to this part, but I guess it does play a role in the story, since the Smorgs were the reason why the drawbridge was still up, and, well, it fits in the plot hole because, like, that's the boss. So, yeah. Riverside aside, though, arriving at Poshly Heights always felt nice after working so hard for those 3 days. You have a nice hotel to rest in, even though it's ridiculously expensive, but hey, it's a luxurious life, and yes, I did pay that amount of money to sleep in one time. All in all, Chapter 6 was in fact a very fine level indeed. Also, Luigi emblem exists, which is awesome. There, you can call me Luigi.
Coming in at number 2 on our list is Chapter 8, The Thousand Year Door. So we finally get to the end chapter of the game, the main chapter that the game is named after, and you gotta say, it is quite the chapter. It's got pretty much everything you could want for a game to end like. It's got an amazing boss that really was challenging for me. I probably died multiple times on it as a kid. Even when I played it later, it would still give me a lot of trouble. And that's on top of facing Bowser and Grottus, so it's just like, wow, I can't believe you have to go through so much just to beat the game at the end. And I guess that's probably why it's not the best chapter in my opinion. It's just because the difficulty spike is insane compared to Chapter 7. Like it's like a roller coaster compared to the previous chapters and how difficult it gets. But aside from that, I would say the puzzles such as the Riddle Tower and just going through it, I thought it was really enjoyable. I really liked the music and the theme for it. People will probably knock it for being too long, but I mean, it is the last chapter of the game, so I'm not going to ding it too much for that, but I guess that's a negative you could say as well. But yeah, amazing chapter, great way to end the game, but it's not number 1.
And finally, at number 1, Brian and I both agree that it has to go to the one and only Chapter 3, Glitzville. I've always loved Glitzville ever since I was a kid. I was so addicted to this chapter. I even asked my friends if it was possible to purchase a Paper Mario Thousand Year Door Glitzville wall decals to place in my room, and I'm pretty sure those don't really exist. So yeah, I even also went Christmas shopping, and my mom actually was like buying towels for like relatives, and I got colors symbolizing the champion, Major League, and Minor League. Yeah, I was that addicted. Another thing to add is I've always been a competitive person, so I believe the setting really suits me. Fighting your way to the top at a fancy battle stadium is a freaking awesome thing to think about, and the main lobby looks super fancy and high-tech, full to the brim of just shininess and speaks high-quality entertainment. The music also definitely sets the theme, switching from a battle system environment to a mysterious tone during the scenarios of investigation. And to top it all off, this chapter was filled with tons of characters. Yeah, you get to learn a little bit about them, their main intentions, personalities, what it takes to win and to be a fighter. Ultimately, Chapter 3 deserves to be in the #1 spot because of all these reasons, and to me, I think this was done right. Everything flowed, and there were no moments of boredom. Glitzville will never be forgotten. And there you have it, guys, all the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door chapters ranked. Let me know if you agree or disagree, and feel free to post your rankings down below. I just want to say before we go that Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door is arguably, again, one of the best Paper Mario games in the series. While it is unsure if it will ever return to form or even get some sort of remasters, many fans will agree that this game will definitely stay magical for an entire lifetime. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, drop a like, and if you're new to this channel, be sure to subscribe for all things Paper Mario and Nintendo related. I've been JigsawFlix, and Brian, well, Brian's not here, signing up for now, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Deuces.